listened to missionaries. 3 weeks later, they started dying all over the place of smallpox. They put their clothes on. That's a pretty powerful God that can kill everybody because you put your clothes on. That's the power of the God virus. Actually, again, cooperating. The virus called smallpox cooperating with the Protestant, in this case, God virus. So, sex-negative environments. Anywhere a Western religion gets into, whether it's Islam, well, not Western, but Islam, Catholicism, Christianity, Hinduism, Buddhism, all these major religions thrive in a sex-negative environment. They have to have sex negativity or they won't be able to propagate. You think the Pope's going to wake up one day and say, wow, I had a great wet dream last night. Let's make masturbation, let's make it legal. I don't think so. You think the Baptist is going to say, you know, most of the girls in our church are getting pregnant or at least having sex before me. Let's go ahead and make it legal and let's teach them the right way. Let's teach them the rational way to deal with their bodies and their own sexuality. No, they're not going to do that because that would take away the infection strategy called guilt that killed the cycle. Last, I want to talk about in the sex piece. I want to talk about anybody been told bring Jesus into your marriage and you'll have a stronger relationship? Bring Jesus into your life, right? Okay, well let's look at the empirical data, the real data. What's the most religious group in the United States and least married, besides the nuns and priests? Most religious, least married.
Christians?
Black women. Black women are the most religious, am I correct? Black women are the most religious and least married. Go to any black church in the nation and you're probably going to see about 70% of the people in the room are female, 30% are male. Of those 30%, most have been drugged. They're kicking and screaming. They're younger boys or they're older men that are also leaders. The middle-aged men are not there. Most of the black churches can't get middle-aged men together. So if Jesus helps your relationship, why are blacks the least married and most religious? What's the highest divorce rate among all religious groups in the United States? Fundamentalists, evangelicals. Baptists have the highest divorce rate of any religious group, besides the non-denominationals. They're about equal to the Baptists. So once again, if Jesus helps your relationship, why are Baptists having such a high divorce rate? So we could say that relationships are actually harmed. There's a lot of evidence to show that relationships are harmed by religion. And we've got a lot of empirical evidence just from those two examples that I just gave you. So it is a myth, and we could start challenging our Christian friends about this. If Jesus helps marriages, what's going on in these two examples? Let's look at viral comparisons here. We see that biological viruses have horizontal infection strategies, or can. So do God viruses. Biological viruses have vertical infection strategies. So can God viruses. Most are easily infected when they're young. So do God viruses. Susceptible during stress. Yes, both. Hides from the immune system. Remember chicken pox. And my friend who got Jesus at 35. May use a vector? Really can certainly use a vector. Evolves keys to penetrate. Yes, the HIV, the swine flu is constantly evolving to try and penetrate because your immune system is also evolving to prevent infection. And so does God viruses. Sex may facilitate, yes. I'm here to tell you that most religion is sexually transmitted disease. You get it from your parents in most cases. So let's look at a practical application, and then we're going to real quickly talk about recovering from religion. I want you to identify some things you can do differently in your behavior in the future. I want you to remember that you cannot argue with a God virus. If Alex has a cold, and I say, Alex, that's a really stupid virus you've got there.
I agree.
Yeah. You would laugh at me. I mean, saying he's got a stupid cold virus? Well, if I say, Alex, you got a stupid Catholic virus in you, it's just as stupid. You can't argue with a cold virus. You can't argue with a God virus because they blind the person to logic. Remember I started off at the beginning, logic is not the answer. So if I'm going to try and do anything with Alex, telling him how stupid he is for his belief system is probably not going to get me anywhere. I want you to separate two things. And I see a lot of atheists and non-theists making this mistake. I want you to separate the political world from personal world. If you won't like the way the school board's doing things, which I don't in Kansas, if you're from Texas either, or maybe even here in Nevada, then go protest it. Go act, go get politically active. Do whatever you like politically. That's this realm over here. But don't bring this behavior over into your personal life. Treating your mother-in-law like she's an idiot for being a Catholic won't win friends and influence people. It's beating your head against that wall that we talked about earlier. So behavior change number one for us, and I think we need to look at ourselves first, is start trying to figure out how do we influence people rather than convert people. Put that in your head and mull it over. How do you influence people rather than convert people? I'm here to suggest you're going to convert a lot more people, quote unquote, if you try to influence them than if you try to head on beat your head against their God virus wall. It just doesn't work. Very few people actually change their mind or change their behavior as a result of it. So, treat political issues different. Treat your mother-in-law, treat your children, treat your spouse, whoever's religious in your life. Try to use a strategy that is more caring and focused on them as a human. You wouldn't argue with somebody with a cold, say they have a stupid cold, so why would you argue with a God virus person? Logic is not the answer. Here's the way you do it, and this is the last tip I'm going to give you tonight. Focus on the person, not on the God virus. Focus on the emotion. If Ardith has got children and she's worried about her daughter, she's sick, she may say, I'm praying for my daughter. I could look at Ardith and say, prayer doesn't work, Ardith. Or take her to a doctor, Ardith. And that's probably not going to get me anywhere. What I could say is, Ardith, I hear you're really concerned about your daughter. Do not respond to the God virus. Never talk to the demon. Keep that in mind. When I respond to her prayer thing, her religious defenses will come up. Remember the experiment? The religious defenses will come up. I no longer have any influence with her at all. From that point on, I've lost my influence. I want to keep my influence with her. I want the potential of helping her see a different way. And I'm not going to get there if I let the demon express itself. So I'm going to focus on the human being in front of me, not the infected God virus that's in her brain. And I'm going to say, gosh, I hear how concerned you are with your daughter. What can I do to help? Can I take her? Can I help you take her to the hospital? Can I do X, Y, or Z? Because quite frankly, somebody who's in pain does not care whether you're a Baptist, a Catholic, or an atheist. They want somebody to help them. They want somebody to listen to them. They want to help somebody help them with their pain. If you're the person that listens to them and gives them the ear that they need, you now have influence. You don't have influence if you attack their beliefs, their God virus, because they hold that God virus very carefully inside their brain, and they protect it very thoroughly. Maybe she'll never stop praying for her child, but that's really not my job on this earth, to convert her. My job is to try and influence her. That's the focus that I try to take with the people that I'm involved with on a personal level. So, remember this, you can't argue with a virus. Okay, I started a group a year ago called Recovering from Religion, because there's so many groups out there trying to get you into religion. I thought, let's get a group started, get you out of religion. And we're not knocking on doors. We don't grab people and drag them out of church on Sunday morning. We just, if you want out, we're here to help you. These groups have been started all over the United States. Anybody in this room could lead one of these groups. You don't have to be a professional. In fact, I almost hope that you're not in some ways. Because I think a person, just average person, is as qualified as any PhD psychologist to lead one of these groups. Now, if you're a PhD psychologist and you want to, fine. I'm happy. I'll talk